وسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Let's start with the lesson today. So what we have covered so far, we mentioned that in Arabic grammar, the word is called kalima, and kalima is of three types: ism, fail, and harf. Ism is noun, fail is verb, and harf is particle. We started talking about noun, and we mentioned that from noun you have to have a look at it from four different aspects. So every noun has four different facets. You must get one from each of those. So whether the ism or the noun is marifa or nakira, this is one group. Whether this is indefinite or definite, and there are several types of definite and indefinite. We cover that in a minute as a revision. Second aspect is to look at the gender of the ism. Is this ism or the noun is masculine or feminine? Third aspect is to look at whether this is singular, dual, or plural. In Arabic, you divide them into three categories: singular, which is wahid or mufrad; dual, which is muthanna or tasniya; and plural, which is jama'. And fourth aspect is to look at their declension, whether they are indefinite in the accusative, nominative, or genitive case, which case they are in. So we covered the first bit, which was whether the noun is marifa or nakira, definite or indefinite. So definite, when you can identify, when the speaker knows exactly who or whatever he or she is referring to. Now, if I say Zaid is my friend, so I know in my mind who Zaid is. So that's a proper noun of an individual. I'm very clear about who am I talking about. If I say a man appeared, so that man, I don't know who that man is, but there was a man. I don't know all the details about the man. I do not know much about the man. I'm just giving you a hint that there was a man who appeared, rather than giving you a clear idea about the man. So if you do not know the individual very well, you call it indefinite. In Arabic, we call it nakira. And if you know the individual very well in a way that you, in your mind, are clear about the specific individual, then that is called ma'rifa. Means you either use one of the seven categories of ma'rifa. So what are they? Number one, it could be ism dhamir, a pronoun. You would only use dhamir or the pronoun when you know the individual. You cannot start your sentence with he or she or it. Rather, you would start with Zaid is my friend, he lives next door. So pronoun is pronoun because it has already been referred to in your conversation or in your writing before that. So that is why pronoun is really the most definite of all the definite types of noun, especially if you say I, because you know yourself the best anyway. You would have no doubt about yourself. And the second one is the person that you're talking about, the second person. And finally, the third one, which is third person. And then you have different categories. For example, ismul alam, the proper noun, a noun, a name given to any individual is a proper noun, and that is ma'rifa, that is very specific. Then there are certain others. One we have talked about is mu'arraf bil lam, which is any nakira, you put a particle the before it. So you say the man, the house. So that nakira, which was indefinite, becomes ma'rifa, becomes very much more definite because you're saying the, and that's a definite article in English. And if you call upon someone's, oh, so and so, so you know who you are referring to. If you point to someone, you know who you're referring to. So that individual is identified. So whenever some individuals are identified, be it man or thing or animal, you know what you're talking about, who you're referring to, then that is a definite noun. Or nakira is, on the other hand, when you do not know the individual very well, you're just referring to them in general terms. And so the indefinite is it a that, a being, or a sifa, an adjective to it? Okay, so for example, a man is a nakira, but a that, an individual, a being, a cat is a being, a house is a being. There's some entity, living or non-living, doesn't matter. As long as there is a body to it, external body, it exists externally, independently. Whereas the sifa does not exist unless there is some holder or beholder of that sifa, that attribute. So you cannot have brightness without something which is getting that effect, showing that brightness. You cannot have tallness, rather an individual or the thing would be tall. So the attribute does not exist without the person being described with that attribute, good or bad. Then we said if you put two nouns together, they always make a compound, and that compound could be a complete compound, which is what we call jumla or sentence, or incomplete. What do I mean by that? That if it gives you clear meaning and you can make a full stop, for example, you can stop your sentence. There's nothing eagerly waiting for you to give them more information about that individual, then it's fine. So for example, if I say the house is clean, so that's a complete sentence. You do not need to say anything after that. That's a full stop. Rather than if you were to say a clean house or the clean house, then it's not complete. You want to say something about the clean house, or a clean house is expensive, for example, or something. So if you make a complete sense, then that is what we call a jumla. If it doesn't, then that murakkab, a compound, is naqis, is a weak or incomplete compound. So murakkab tawsifi was the first one we then discussed, and it has two parts. As I said, there'll be two nouns together. First part is called mawsuf, second part is called sifa. Mawsuf is the being which is described, and sifa is the attribute. They should correspond to each other. If this is ma'rifa, that should be ma'rifa. If this is nakira, that should be nakira. If this one is mudhakkar, mawsuf, then the sifa should be mudhakkar. Likewise, in all different levels, they should correspond to each other than one exception. There's only one exception, which we mentioned last time, which is jama ghair aqil. So if all the individuals are unintelligent being, and what is an unintelligent being? So anything which is not intelligent is considered unintelligent. So what are intelligent then? Intelligent beings are human being, jinnis, and angels. Other than these three, everything is unintelligent being. So they are lumped together into a group. A group in Arabic is called jama'ah, jama'atun, jama'ah. And jama'ah is a feminine singular word. So we give that collective group of unintelligent being a sifa of wahid mu'annas. Wahid mu'annas means singular feminine. So you would say a house, a big house. Baytun kabirun. Then you have jama of that. So bayt is buyutun. Jama of bayt is buyutun, many houses. And if you want to say many big or large houses, you would not say buyutun kabirun. Rather, you would say buyutun kabiratun. Wahid and mu'annas sigha. And that the reason for that is we consider all of those houses to be lumped together as a jama'ah. And then we discuss about the gender. So gender is jins. Gender is jins. And jins, masculine or feminine. So each noun by default is a masculine noun, unless there is a reason to believe or reason to clarify that this is a feminine word. So in Arabic, every word, every noun is a masculine word. So what are the reasons? The reason is whether the ism has been related to a feminine gender by default. So the name of a female, you know that this is a female name, fine. That word is then a female word regardless. So Maryam, for example, Zainab. So these are feminine names. We know this is a name given to the feminine person, then that becomes a feminine name regardless. The few exception of being a common between men and women, that's a different matter. But generally, the name, if it's given to a female, then you know this is a female word. Maryam is a female word. Likewise, any attribute, arus, bride, that's a feminine attribute. A widow, feminine attribute. A pregnant, a feminine attribute. So when you have that, then the attribute will become feminine, whether there's any sign of femininity in that or not, it doesn't matter. Okay, so then there are certain signs that you would find in Arabic word. If you find any of those, the word would be feminine. For example, a rounded ta at the end. Any name that has rounded ta at the end, for example, Aisha, Saliha, Fatima, which when you stop becomes ha. You write gold, rounded ta there, circular ta, but you do not pronounce it when you stop at that. You do not say Aishat, but you say Aisha. And in Urdu or in another language, you actually write with ha at the end, although it is a rounded ta, which becomes ha when you stop at that. So Salihah, Sa'a, Sayyara, Salah, Zakah, these are all feminine words because they have rounded ta at the end. Likewise, alif maqsura, a small alif at the end, is also a sign of a feminine word. So Uzma, Salma, Sughra, Kubra, Nu'ma, these are the names which are feminine. Likewise, there are certain names with alif mamduda, which is alif and hamza after that. Sahra, Zahra, Safra, Khadra, Hamra. All these names are feminine names because they have alif and hamza at the end. And then there are certain body parts which are paired. So any body organ which is paired, two of those, like two kidneys, two lungs, two eyes, two ears, two hands, these are all feminine words. This is how Arabs use. That's their language. This is how they use it. Any name of a country, a tribe, a city, all feminine. So for example, yadun, hand, is a feminine word, even if it's singular. Rijlun, foot, leg, is a feminine word because it's a paired organ of the body. And there's certain sima'i, the Arabs use it as feminine. Why? There's no reason other than the fact that they use it as feminine. So that's up to them. This is their language. It's called sima'i, dependent on how Arabs use it. So those names are, or words are also feminine. For example, Shams, the sun. Sun in Arabic is a feminine word, unlike many other languages. We use sun as masculine word in Urdu, but in English or in Arabic, it is a feminine word. Likewise, nar, the fire, nafs, the soul, are feminine word. There are many like that. Okay. Then you look at another attribute, which is the adad. Adad being number. In most languages, you have singular, you have plural. In Arabic, you have singular, dual, and plural. So singular is wahid, singular, generally denoted with or denoted by tanween. Tanween is two zabars, two zairs, two pesh, dhammatan, fathatan, kasratan, the nation. So you have two of those. And if you have that, that suggests singularity, not all the time, sometime, well, most of the time actually. So this is wahid or mufrad. Then you have tathniya, which is two. Anything which is two is tathniya. And how do we identify them? By checking ani and aini at the end. If they have ani or aini. So for example, baytun is the house. Baytani means two house. Rajulun is a man. Rajulani, two men. Talibun, student. Talibani, two student. Muslimun, a Muslim, and two of them would be Muslimani. And likewise for feminine, Talibah, Talibatun, Talibah. Two of those, Talibatani. Bintun, daughter, a girl. Bintani, two of those. So tathniya is called tathniya, dual. Tathniya is dual. And then you have jama, and jama is of two types, broken or sound. Jama, which is plural. So plural, sound plural or broken plural. Sound plural is of masculine and of feminine. So sound masculine plural, plural and sound feminine plural. So how do you identify? What does it mean to be sound plural? Because you do not make any changes to the structure of the word. You do not bring about any change. So the natural order of the letters and their signs, the designational marks, their fatha, dhamma, kasra, zabar, zir, page doesn't change. All in the beginning. You just add something right at the end. The structure remains. The form remains. So you say Muslimun to make it sound plural, you would say Muslimuna. So Musli remains the same. Muslimuna, you just add una for masculine, and atun you use and add for feminine. So Muslimatun. So Muslim remains the same. Muslim remains the same. And then atun or una or ina or atin, any of that. You add that to make it masculine or feminine plural, but the structure doesn't get broken. Whereas with mukassar means broken, you just break it. For example, rajulun is a man. So you change it into plural, it is rijalun. So rijal is the plural of rajulun. Have you kept the structure? No, because rajulun, ra is with fatha. What you did with the jama, with the plural, ri. Julun, you just make ju into ja and you inserted alif there. So rija. So you have already changed the structure. So once you do that, it becomes a broken plural. Baytun, buyutun. So haraka, the signs change, or you insert something, or you delete some letters. It becomes a broken plural. Then we mentioned about, which we already tackled, is the fact that certain nouns are those of intelligent beings, certain are unintelligent beings. So intelligent is called aqil, the one with intellect, the one with faculty of thinking and trying to come up with some rationalized thoughts. It's called aqil. Human being, insan, malaika, the angel, and jinn are the only three intelligent beings. All the rest of the creature are considered unintelligent being. So you are going to collect them together, lump them together into a group. We call it jama'ah. And jama'atun, should be jama'atun right at the end, is a wahid feminine, wahid mu'annas. Why is it mu'annas word? Ta. Rounded ta at the end is a femininity, a sign of feminine word. So that's why it's called wahid mu'annas. So you just bring about their plural as wahid mu'annas. So for example, do some exercise on that. So kitabun, what is the broken plural? You wouldn't know it. There are several different scales of those. All you need to do is to memorize them. There are many different scales, and there's no structure to it. You just have to memorize. So kitabun, so plural is kutubun. Kitabun, plural is kutubun. Talibun, what is the plural? Normally it takes both. There are certain words, certain isms and nouns, they take a broken plural as well as sound plural. So talib is one of those. So talibun, the plural would be talibuna, and the broken one would be talaba or tullab. Tullab actually. So tullab is better one. So tullab, because talaba is the plural of talib. So similar meaning. So talib, tullab, and broken one is tullab. Sound is talibun, talibin, talibin, una, ina structure. Mu'minatun, a feminine mu'mina, mu'mina. So mu'minatun, mu'minatun. This is salim. This is not broken. I think this was a mistake. It shouldn't be there in that group. Mu'minatun is a sound plural. Rajulun, rijalun, rijalun. Look at that. Rijalun. See, you have already broken this. Fasiq, fussaq, fussaq. Alim, ulama, or alimun. So they've got broken plus sound as well. So alimun is sound. Ulama is broken. Qalam, aqlam. Again, you inserted extra alif at the beginning and in the middle as well. So you've changed the structure. Broken. Baytun, buyutun, house. Baytun, buyutun. Imra'atun, nisa'un. Completely different structure. Again, broken plural. Other than mu'minatun, rest are fine because they have got mu'minatun is jama salim, sound plural. Shouldn't be here. That's a mistake. Okay, then we said if you put them together, two isms together next to each other, and they give a complete meaning. If they give a complete meaning, this is called jumla. And jumla is of two types in Arabic. Jumla could be ismiya or fi'liya. Remember it. Jumla ismiya, jumla fi'liya. Jumla ismiya, jumla fi'liya. Ismiya means when the sentence starts off with a noun. It's called jumla ismiya. Easy. Jumla fi'liya when it starts off with a fi'l, a verb, which we haven't covered yet. So we just talk about Jumla Ismiya. So what is Jumla Ismiya? Remember, I said when you put two nouns together, they always make a compound, and that compound would have two parts to it. First part, second part. First part would have a name, second part would have a name. First part would have a certain characteristics, second part would have certain characteristics. That's how you identify what structure we are making, what compound are we building up. So here we are building a complete sentence. The first part is called mubtada and second part is called khabar. So it consists of two parts, where the first part is called mubtada, second part is called khabar. Subject, predicate. In English you say subject and predicate, mubtada and khabar in Arabic. Subject, predicate, mubtada, khabar. First part is noun, second part noun or whatever, but at least the first part must be a noun, and it is called mubtada. Mubtada, mubtada. Second part is khabar. You're giving some information about that mubtada. The first part is normally or generally a definite noun, a definite noun. So what is a definite noun? Again, you have done 7 types of definite noun. We revised it several times. This is 8th day, and we did that in the first lesson. We've been revising every week. So again, remember, definite means it is one of the 7 types. Either it is a pronoun, dhamir, a proper noun, alam, which is name given to some individuals or anything, or it is mu'arraf billah, means al-nakira having al or the article attached to it, or it is, isme ishara, which is you're pointing to something which we haven't covered yet, isme mawsool, which we haven't covered yet, relative pronoun, or it is mudaf ila ma'rifa, we haven't covered that. So any of those 7 categories, that should make the beginning part, which is mubtada, the first part. And second part, on the contrary, would be generally nakira, mean indefinite. It shouldn't have one of those categories, something else. There are 2 possibilities. There are 2 situations where you can make a khabar, a predicate, to be ma'rifa as well, but we would cover that next time. So generally, you would remember, first part is mubtada, second part is khabar. And mubtada is ma'rifa, khabar is nakira. That's default position. The example, at-talibu mujtahidun. At-talibu mujtahidun. The student is hardworking. It's a complete sentence. The student. So the student is mubtada, which is subject, and mujtahidun is khabar, which is nakira. The student is hardworking. So look at the construction. The first part is ma'rifa. It has al, because al makes a noun into a definite noun, a definite form, ma'rifa. So at-talibu is ma'rifa, and mujtahidun is nakira without al. Okay, and you remember, when you put al to a noun, it does not continue to have its nonation, the tanween. You have to remove that tanween. That's why you're not saying at-talibun. So talibun nakira, ma'rifa, at-talibu, al-talibu, at-talibu, because this is sun letter, shamsi letter. At-talibu mujtahidun. So you, by having a look at that construction, that there are two names, 2 nouns together, 2 isms together. First one is ma'rifa, second is nakira. This is by default a jumla ismiya, and you would insert the extra meaning to it, extra word to it, which is the student is. Just by having that construction, there's no word there, no word that would mean is here in this construction. Rather, just by having that construction, it would mean that there is there already. So you translate it, the talib is hardworking. Mujtahid means hardworking. The talib, student. The student, hardworking. Where is that is come from? That is has actually come from the construction, because the way it has been put together, ma'rifa and nakira construction, it has that is built in. You do not need that. Now, if you remove the al from talib, at-talib, if you make it talibun, talibun mujtahidun, what is that? Now they're corresponding to each other in all 4 respects. This one is singular, that one is singular. Talib is singular, mujtahid is singular. Talib is nakira, talibun, not talking about this talib with al, without al. Imagine that. Talibun mujtahidun. Both having singular form, both are nouns, both are in Rafi state means talibun, mujtahidun. Both have two dhamma at the end, two patients. And both are muzakkar, masculine. Both are singular. Both are nakira. What is this? This construction is murakkab tawsifi. This is the adjectival phrase, which means the translation would be a hard working student. This is incomplete compound. It doesn't give you complete meaning. You cannot insert is there to make it complete sentence. For that, you must have a construction where the first part is marifa, second part is nakira, like here. At-talibu mujtahidun. Or if you put al onto the mujtahid as well, same problem. Because now they're corresponding to each other in all four respects. If they both correspond to each other in all four respects, then that becomes mawsuf sifa, incomplete construction, and it is called adjectival phrase rather than a complete sentence, jumla ismiya. Another example, al baytani jadidan. So first part is ma'rifa, second part is nakira. Two houses are new. You put is, mr, whatever needed, just by having a look at that construction. First part is ma'rifa, second part is nakira. Al baytani. And there's no al on jadidani. If it was, it would be murakkab tawsifi, adjectival phrase. The translation would be two new houses, or the two new houses, if you have al to both or without al both. But here we have got first part with al, second part is without al. First part makes it ma'rifa with al being attached, and second part is nakira. So this is a complete sentence, mubtada khabar, and you would say two houses, the two houses are new. And plural same way, an-nisa'u hadiratun, the women are present, is mr inserted automatically just by looking at the construction, because the first part is ma'rifa, second part is nakira. An-nisa'u with al, hadiratun without al. Okay, so that is complete sentence as well. But obviously you can make adjustment for both part being definite, but there are two ways of doing it, but we leave it today because that has been a bit too much anyway. So just remember for today, I leave that for next week, so don't worry about this much. Otherwise it'll be too much. Okay. This is what we said. Just revise that again. A sentence, it could be jumla ismiya, jumla fi'liya. And jumla ismiya is when you start off with a noun. Jumla fi'liya is when you start off with a verb, which we haven't covered or tackled yet. And first part of jumla ismiya is called mubtada, second part is called khabar. Now you would look at those examples and just give me the idea what you think is going on. So al-baytu al-kabiru. The first one is al-baytu al-kabir. What do you think? The first part is ma'rifa or nakira? First part is ma'rifa. Good. Second part is ma'rifa or nakira? Second part is ma'rifa. Why? Because they both have al on them. Yeah. So they're both ma'rifa. So ma'rifa construction, what is this? If they're both ma'rifa and both singular, both muzakkar, masculine, and both in the same state, like dhamma with dhamma, fatha with fatha, kasra with kasra, then what it is? It is a adjectival compound, murakkab tawsifi. Very good. Second one, baytun kabirun, both nakira, because baytun is nakira without al. Kabirun is nakira without al. So both nakira, both muzakkar, both singular, both with dhammatan. What is this construction? Again, murakkab tawsifi. Very good. Adjectival phrase. Murakkab tawsifi, because they correspond to each other in all four respects. Third one, ar-rajulu salihun. So the first part is, what is ar-rajulu? With al, it is ma'rifa. What is salihun? Without al, it is nakira. So first part ma'rifa, second part nakira. What is it? This is jumla ismiya, mubtada khabar. Mubtada khabar. Okay, complete sentence. Al-baytu kabirun. Al-baytu. What is it? Ma'rifa or nakira? Ma'rifa. What is kabirun? Without al is nakira. So ma'rifa and nakira construction is complete sentence, mubtada khabar. Huwa Umar. Huwa Umar. This is the one that I've left it for next week because that might have been a bit too much. But those two are murakkab, complete sentence, murakkab tam as well, jumla as well. But leave that for the time being because we haven't touched upon that today. That will be for next week. Okay. So what about morphologies? In morphology, we keep saying that it is like your times table. You have to memorize those. This is the pronoun. You talk about some third person, second person, first person, he, she, it, they, you, I, we. In English, you have that many. In Urdu, you have only few. But in Arabic, you have 14 different words for those. So huwa is he, male or it. Huma are those two male. Hum are all the male, them, they. Hiya is she. And huma, again, the same dual for two. So two male, two female, or one male and one female. Whenever there are two, you call it huma. Side, in the third person, not talking about the one who's present. For second person, which is the second person you're talking to, the mukhatab, you say you, oh you man, anta. For two, you say you two, either two male, two female, or one male, one female. Antuma, and antum, you all male. Anti, you all you female. Antuma, you two female. Antunna, you all female. And for first person, which is I, ana. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female, ana. Nahnu, we all. Whether it's male or female, that's good. For even tathniya, for dual, you still say nahnu. For two, you say nahnu. For all, you say nahnu. So rather than having six form there, it should be 666, but it is actually only 6 for third person, 6 for second person, and 2 for first person. Okay, so that's, you need to memorize it like back of your hand, really. So huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna, anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna, ana, nahnu. And Madi, we have done this one as well. This is he worshipped. They too worshipped. Same form, same order, 14 of those. So we did that was abada, abada, abadu, abadat, abadata, abadna, abatta, abattuma, abattum, abatti, abattuma, abattunna, abattu, abadna. 14. Likewise with darasa, you could do the same. Darasa, darasa, darasu, darasat, darasata, darasna, darasta, darastuma, darastum, darasti, darastuma, darastunna, darastu, darasna. You memorize one, you can put any form there, change it with that, and it becomes easy on your tongue. And then in majhul, the passive voice, you do darasa become durisa. It is being learned, it is being taught. Durisa, the person is being taught. So durisa, durisa, durisu, durisat, durisata, durisna, durista, duristuma, duristum, duristu, duristuma, duristunna, duristu, durisna, same way. Only 14 forms rather than 18. Tuliba, you can do same with tuliba, easy. Okay, and then we covered the mudare rule. Mudare is, so in Arabic, the time is of two types, Madi and Mudare. Madi is past, Mudare is present and future together. And there's certain ways of identifying them. We'll cover that later on. But at the moment, you just need to remember what is Mudare. Mudare is something which is present or future. And what are the rules? There are 4 letters of Mudare, 4 signs of Mudare. Those 4 letters are Noon, Hamza, Ta, Ya. So na'budu, we worship. A'budu, I worship. Ta'budu, you worship. Ya'budu, he worships. So this is how it goes. Ta, ya, noon, and alif. Na'ti, remember that. Na'ti, we come, that it means. So noon, hamza, ta, ya. So those, by the way, alif is only alif when it's silent. If alif has anything, fatha, dhamma, kasra on it, it becomes hamza. That's why we call it na'ti, hamza with the jet. Otherwise, you would confuse with why he's saying hamza when it's alif. It's actually hamza. It's written like that, but there's fatha, dhamma, kasra on it, it becomes hamza. Okay. Oh, it didn't show up very clearly on this because we haven't got that perhaps Urdu font on this computer. But anyway, you have done that before. You have got those slides. Ya'budu, ya'budani, ya'buduna, ta'budu, ta'budani, ya'budna, ta'budu, ta'budani, ta'buduna, ta'budina, ta'budani, ta'buduna, a'budu, na'budu. This is Mudari Gardan. Leave it there, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. Because we did that with Samia as well. Now, just in fact, let's leave the rest